Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Erin Peterson. I'm the Director of Mission and Partnerships here at the Colon Cancer Coalition. We are so thrilled to have everyone join us today. With me, we have our partners at Fight Colorectal Cancer and some wonderful volunteers to share with you their successes in turning the U.S. blue for colorectal cancer in March and inviting you to do the same. While we are waiting for a couple more people to join and watch, just want to give you some housekeeping information. We ask that you, while the presenters are going, submit any questions you have via the chat feature here in Zoom. We will do a live Q&A session following the final presentation from Allison, and then we'll be happy to answer all your questions and give you more tips and tricks. And if you feel so inclined and want to tweet along with the presentation using the hashtag blue for CRC, BLUEFORCRC. And with that, I would like to invite Aubrey and Beth from Fight CRC to join us and get started.
Great, thank you, Erin. Hoping to keep my video unfrozen the whole time we go for this, but my name is Aubrey Thalen and I am the Advocacy Manager with Fight Colorectal Cancer. I've been with Fight CRC for about 2.5 years, and you may recognize me from Colon Congress communications as well as our Proclamations campaign. And I am so happy to welcome Beth here, one of our advocates and our ambassadors this year. And just a few fun facts about Beth that I'm sure she's going to get into as she tells her story and how she got to get into proclamations, how many she's got, which is quite a few, is that Beth was diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer at 50 years old in 2013. Like I said, she's currently an ambassador for us. And after having a few different jobs, it seems, from a freelance writer to working at Hallmark Cards, she is also a ghost tour host. So please welcome Beth to give us a little bit more info on what happens with proclamations, what inspired her, and a little bit more about her story.
Well, thank you guys for inviting me today to talk a little bit about my story and talk about the proclamations that I've been able to obtain. So to start off, I live in the state of Kansas. So when I talk about how I received the proclamations and the processes involved, know that every state's going to be a little bit different. So in the state of Kansas, there's some paperwork that's required, and I actually found it on the governor's website. So it's like stateofkansas.gov, and there's a button for proclamations. I'm actually securing the 4th proclamation for the state of Kansas. And the first time I did it, I was a little bit intimidated, but it really wasn't that difficult at all. I think for me, the most difficult part was trying to figure out all the whereases. You know, it's like, whereas colorectal cancer is the #2 killer of all cancers and that sort of thing. But luckily, there's an online resource, and I know that Aubrey or Erin are going to talk about it in a little bit, to where you can literally just cut and paste everything into the proclamation request with the governor's office. So the first proclamation I got was in 2018, and I sent the request in, and you can actually either request, again, in the state of Kansas, you can request either an in-person signing, or you can request just for the proclamation to be signed and it sent out to you. So of course, I want the in-person signing. You know, I want the great photo op with our governor. Well, at that time, the state of Kansas, the governor was an MD. His name is Dr. Jeff Collier. And so when I was visiting with him during the signing of the proclamation, I actually found out that he lost his brother 10 years prior to that to colorectal cancer. So not only was he a doctor and knows how important it is to make sure you stay current on colonoscopies and identify any problems that may be indications of colorectal cancer, but also it hit very close to home for him as well. So he was very happy to meet myself and another nearby colon cancer survivor as well. She was from Topeka. So we did that. The next year, we had a change of governor in the office, and apparently the governors get to choose which ones they want for an in-person signing and which ones that they want just to send the proclamations to. And so I just got it in the mail. I was declining the in-person signing. And now with COVID, you know, I'm sure the in-person signings likely are not even going to be able to happen. So I have a feeling that more people will be receiving them just in the mail versus the in-person signing with the photo op and things like that. So it's very easy to do. Everything that I found is online. And one thing that is helpful is to have some sort of contact in the governor's office. So I have a contact, and we'll be sending him a note. I've already submitted for the state of Kansas for 2021 for coming up in March to secure that proclamation. So my fingers are crossed. I would love to have an in-person signing. I just kind of doubt that it will happen due to COVID restrictions. So again, it's just really easy to do. It's a great PR thing. I think it does help raise awareness. And I know the first year that I had the in-person signing, there's so many people, there's so many different groups. In the state of Kansas, they actually allow half a day, one time a month. So all the proclamations that are requested come in and they're signed, you know, like the first Wednesday of the month from 9 a.m. to noon. And then all the groups are lined up together. And I know in 2018, there was, March was also like Severe Weather Awareness Month. And then there was another group that was getting a proclamation about military dogs and their service. So there's a variety of things that are happening other than just Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. So again, it's very easy to do. I know I'm helping a fellow colon cancer survivor get the Missouri state proclamation secured, and I've sent him the information, and I'm sure that'll be coming along very soon.
Great. Thank you so much, Beth. It's so informative too that you've already done it multiple times. And I also love the story of you talking with the governor in the Capitol and actually finding out things about him that some of us wouldn't even have known as we work in advocacy. So useful to make those connections. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it turns out he was, as I mentioned, he's a doctor. He actually operated on my mom.
Oh,
so you know, you just truly never know where you're going to have those connections that are made.
Right. And that is kind of the building block of advocacy, because once you start to make those connections, you can come back to those connections to potentially ask for more or just keep building that relationship until you do need something. So that's a lovely story. Thank you so much, Beth. I am going to share a little bit about the toolkit so that Beth mentioned, just so that we're able to get all on the same page. It'll be pretty quick. It should be pretty easy to use. I just want to check, can everybody see my screen, which is the preview of our big logo here?
Sure can.
Okay, perfect. A lovely picture of our logo, but I just want to walk through how you access our toolkit. So like Beth said, there's a lot of options online, including what Erin will be able to go over for the Get Your Rear in Gear, the Colon Cancer Coalition. They have their own toolkit as well. But for us at Fight CRC, you can access it through the emails you may have gotten from us, but also by just going to fightcrc.org/proclamations, which you can see in this screenshot of the toolbar up there. From there, this is our front page. You can automatically check your state status, which is that button right at the bottom of the screen. So this is what'll pop up when you visit that website. I'll show you quick what that looks like. It's a very simple list. You can scroll through and see if it's been submitted, if it's been secured, meaning someone has gotten that proclamation. There's that step where you might need to contact your governor's office again, just to make sure that they got it. maybe push it up the list a little bit, and letting us know as well that you've either submitted or secured that proclamation means that this website will be updated. So again, here's that front page. You'd scroll down just one little bit, and there is this left-hand part here on how to request a proclamation with a button saying download your toolkit here. You'll be asked to fill out a very brief form just so that we know where you live, and by where you live, we mean the zip code and the state, as well as your email, because you will receive an email with the toolkit in there. So those are pretty upfront buttons that you'll find just by scrolling. Here's a copy of that email. Again, buttons. You've got 3 buttons there. One is the state-by-state instructions, which I'll show on the next slide. One is the sample proclamation, which is exactly what Beth talked about, that document with the whereas and the funky funky policy language that you don't need to come up with, as well as a sample request letter. So some states do require a request letter, and I'll show you a little bit of that as well. So when you get to this email in your inbox, you just click on either one of these buttons, anything that you might need, probably starting with those state-by-state instructions. Here's an example of what that page looks like. It'll give you a brief explanation of the process, as well as a link to get to that website. Like Beth said, there's usually on your governor's website a link to proclamation requests of some type. Every state is different, like she said as well. And this document has all of those directly in here. It also has a contact number in case you do need to do that follow-up call to ask where is the proclamation, is it on its way, that kind of thing. As well as a couple of the states who are not accepting proclamations right now due to COVID. So you don't need to go down the road and request unless they actually are accepting proclamations. That's a pretty rare occurrence though right now. Here are the final 2 documents in that toolkit. One is that proclamation, which you can see all those whereas clauses. Some states you might need to take a couple out. It's up to your discretion. They may say you can only have 6 of those clauses. All you need to do usually is copy and paste, like Beth said. We have that all prepared, and in the second half of that document is also some sources, so that if your health department or the governor's office asks for those are available. And then on the right there is the request letter, like we said. Anything that might be taken out is just highlighted, as you can see, where you'd say, Dear Governor. In my case, I live in Illinois, so Governor Pritzker, and I'd insert their official's name, title, address, if that was required of me. So it's a pretty easy setup for proclamations. You'll get that in your email once you request it. If you are perhaps a person who requested once before and forgot or can't find the email, you can fill out the form again. It will send you another email. So it's always available for you at any point in time to get that email and that toolkit as needed. So with that, that is all I have, and I'll pass it over to Erin and Allison.
Thank you so much, Aubrey. We're excited to partner with VITE CRC and kind of give people the opportunity to go a little bit beyond their proclamation with finding ways to engage the community through lighting blue landmarks or engaging your healthcare system to do some additional colorectal cancer awareness throughout the month of March. Allison has been a go-getter when it comes to this. She took on the city of Houston and expanded further into Texas by engaging other people to light over 50 landmarks in her first attempt, and she keeps going. The Colon Cancer Coalition is located in Minnesota, and we have been doing this since about 2014 and are looking at Minnesota to get over 100 landmarks or healthcare systems and other public spaces going blue for CRC in March. So we are happy to answer any of your questions. Allison has a brief presentation, and I will then, like Aubrey did, show you where the toolkits are located within our website. And Allison, for those that don't know her, is a rectal cancer survivor and powerhouse when it comes to spreading awareness. So take it away, Allison.
Sure, thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 sec. Let me make it bigger so you can all see it. Like Erin said, I am a stage 2 colorectal cancer survivor. I am a patient community legislative advocate. I've done lit Houston Blue for the past 3 years or so. And I got the idea, obviously, from Erin and team in Minnesota. There was nothing being done in Houston. March rolled around and I was like, why aren't the buildings blue? Why is there no awareness? Why is there nothing going on? And so I seized the opportunity to get something started. And so I'm going to go through sort of the steps that I did with Erin, the coalition, and with Fight CRC's help to make it happen. So we call our initiative essentially Light the Night Blue. Oops, why is it not going to the next? Sorry. Okay, there we go. So our mission was, or is, to launch a multifaceted social marketing campaign aimed to raise awareness that the fact that colorectal cancer is preventable through screening. And we use this hashtag that Erin mentioned, Blue for CRC. I don't know why this is not, I guess I just have to click on it. So essentially, I tried to attempt to do it myself the first year. And, you know, I had some success, but then I realized that a lot of other people in the state of Texas and locally in Houston were interested in doing something similar. So the 3 main things I learned throughout the process of the past few years doing it is identifying key stakeholders, request, and this is sort of how I'll go through this presentation. There's just a few slides, not a ton, a lot of pictures because that's more exciting than me talking. So how I requested the landmarks to go blue, how I use social media and media coverage to help that, and sort of some tips or tricks that I learned along the way. So essentially you see a picture of me and a giant inflatable colon and our lovely volunteer who dressed in a poop emoji costume, along with a lot of the key stakeholders in Houston that helped with the initiative. One person can't do it all. I tried and I was, you know, I said I was moderately successful, but really it's more than one person. It's a team effort. So I initially had a stakeholder meeting with local nonprofits, community leaders, anyone that I thought that might be interested in being a part of this. And I think that if your state has a coalition or if your state has a major cancer center, reaching out, especially for me, I used American Cancer Society. They have been key in the success of what we've done in Houston. So reaching out to them, asking if they're interested in being a part of what you're thinking about doing, and then having an initial meeting to sort of describe what you're wanting to do, and using the toolkits that Erin will show will really be helpful in getting people interested in helping. We have regular meetings. We've already had our first meeting to talk about March already. And once you have that solid committee, we have monthly meetings, but then closer to the month of March, we had weekly meetings, and various tasks were assigned to various people based on their expertise. And we combined resources. So if ACS already had a colon cancer resource, I didn't need to recreate that. Or if we had a resource that we could get from Fight CRC or the Colon Cancer Coalition, again, we didn't need to recreate anything. So this you'll see in the toolkit that Erin will show, but I really, really use this as my sort of Bible in order to get what I wanted accomplished. So I had no idea that I could reach the airport in Houston as easily as sending an email, making some phone calls. So essentially there's sort of people in different roles as far as public landmarks are concerned and private buildings are concerned. And these give you a list of sort of who to call. You have to get in charge, or have to get the right person on the phone. And I say don't email it first, because they can ignore your email, but they can't answer your phone call. So as Erin said, I will bug people to do things in a very positive way until they are done, or at least I get an answer, yes or no. And so as far as the airport was concerned, for example, I called them, I found out who the person that was in charge of the lights was, and I left them a few messages, I emailed them, and eventually she got back to me and agreed to do it for not only this airport, but our other airport. And so like big landmarks like this that will light blue are ones that you want to sort of target first. And I said, this is in the toolkit, so you'll get all this information. But making phone calls is better than emails because, like I said, they can't necessarily ignore you. So these are a bunch of pictures of different landmarks and buildings that we've had light blue in Houston. As Erin said, last year, I think we had 70 or so. So this is our City Hall. This is one of the institutions in our Texas Medical Center. This is bridges across our highway. So if you don't know which buildings turn blue, if you looked around during Christmas, any building that has LED lights that is red or green or any color for a sports team, if they have lights like that, they have the lights that will have the capability of turning blue, most likely. Every once in a while, that might not be the case. And so I sort of created a spreadsheet of all the buildings and landmarks and institutions and whatnot, and started from there and had other people. Houston's a huge city, so I had other people in the east, in the west, in the south, and I'm in Central, look around to see what had LED lights, and we created sort of a Google Doc to share so we could have a comprehensive list. So before I go into sort of what else we did besides letting the cities blue, I know the next slide I have are sort of tips and tricks, but I think that starting early, and I think I have that on the next slide as well, starting early, but also, you know, you can light the city blue, but what you're going to do about it is sort of the most important thing. There are some buildings that are already blue. That's a very, very easy ask. But when you're making the ask, let them know that you're going to be doing, you know, possible media. And so here's another picture of what we did with the proclamations that I got. Like Beth was talking about, we always have a press conference every year. We don't have a ton of people at the press conference. We have a lot of media, but we usually invite our mayor. We invite the head of our Texas Medical Center. We have usually a medical GI doctor, an oncologist, some head of some cancer center. We usually invite some survivors. This year, it might look a little bit different. We're talking with the mayor's office about maybe doing it at City Hall, where everybody is social distanced. But we still want to invite the media to be there because, like I said, you can light the city blue, but unless they have an actionable item, like this is for colon cancer awareness. So we usually have our press conference with our giant colon and the mayor before we actually light the city blue, so that we're giving the city an ask, an actionable item. Hey, if you see a picture of a building blue, tweet it, you know, put it, do a social media post on Instagram or Facebook, and make sure to tag Blue for CRC. So this press conference, as well as some of the media opportunities, we talk about before we actually light the city blue, so that people know what it is. So when you're driving on the freeway, you see all these buildings, you're like, well, why is this blue? So also in the toolkit, I'm pretty sure Erin has all of these. I took it from her example. I provide social media posts to all the landmarks and ask them to tweet, also to put on all their social media channels a picture of them turning blue and putting some of these messages. So not only are you doing it, but you're asking the landmarks to do it. And that creates a lot of awareness and a lot of social media buzz around colon cancer awareness and why these things are being blue. And I've had people reach out to me asking if they could participate based on posts from other people. So these are, again, in the toolkit, and you can send these. It's really, really easy when you have unified messaging. So as far as media outreach, like I said, we have our press conference, but then most radio stations in most cities have a slot for local people that are working on some sort of awareness, some sort of nonprofit work, or some sort of event that they can promote. In Houston, it's usually you go in during the week and they promote it on Sunday mornings. And so we were able to reach a huge audience. We did some interviews and we're on over 8 stations. We did TV interviews and reached essentially thousands of people. And again, tweets from the press conference, our mayor's office, the press secretary comes and she tweets and they live stream from our press conference. And so the reach we got was huge. And so with the appropriate hashtags, it again comes back. I think you talk about colon cancer awareness. I also usually bring a physician with me, because even though I work in healthcare, I am not a physician. I can't speak on the statistics. It's more, the story resonates more so with the media outlets if you're not only there as a survivor or patient or advocate, but some of you might be healthcare professionals. So if you're healthcare professionals listening now, go, but also bring a survivor or patient with you. So it's sort of two-pronged, bringing the leading expert, but then someone that's experienced this disease. So you have both aspects of the story. So tips or tricks really quickly, I'm gonna go through this. Start early. I said I've already started. I have the City of Houston Proclamation right next to me. And then as you're looking around in your downtown, at banks, there's car dealerships in Houston that have LED lights. No building is too small. So look to see if they have lit another color for breast cancer awareness, or for a sporting event, or for anything. And those are going to be your buildings or landmarks or institutions that have capabilities of turning blue. If they haven't, some of them have been willing to turn blue. So Kelsey-Seybold in Houston lit for pink for breast cancer awareness, and they were willing to spend the money to buy the filters to turn blue. And I know, Erin, if it's not on the website, we should put the exact color that we're asking. There's an actual filter for the LED lights that is the right blue that I usually provide the people when they ask, well, what color? Because the people that are programming it need the blue, need to know what blue filter to use. Engage other local survivors. Like I said, it's hard for a hospital to say no if you're a patient there. So to get them involved, you're like, hey, I was treated here. Do you want to get involved? And you're providing a service to them, essentially. It's advertising for them being involved. And it's also, a patient story that they can do, again, media stories on, as well as like local media and TV stations. Like I said earlier, calling is the best method. When you're recruiting, when I say start with bigger landmarks, when I say the airport's doing it, and I say that the Texas Medical Center water wall, and I say, Baylor College of Medicine, MD Anderson, Methodist, then the other smaller institutions and things definitely want to be a part of it, because if someone else is doing it, they want to be a part of it too. So I start big and then sort of trickle down to some of the smaller people and use that as leverage. So they always start usually with the marketing and communications department, and you have a list in the toolkit of sort of where to start. They usually will point you in the right direction. It's always the facilities department that will light the buildings and landmarks blue, but they have to get the okay from the appropriate people to do so. Like I said, no place is too small. Reach out and create partnerships for future events. But to be a part of this, American Cancer Society here has been amazing. And we've just gotten a lot more reach with them involved, as well as, I know a lot of people, but if I say I'm doing it in collaboration with them, people know ACS. If possible, at a press conference, like I said, we are talking about doing it this year. It might look a little bit different, but I think we're shooting to do something in person with a handful of people. We're not going to invite other survivors. We're not going to invite anyone that's not necessarily talking and whatnot. And of note, if I know we're talking about turning blue, but if a place wants to participate when they can't turn blue, ask them to wear blue. They can still use the Blue for CRC hashtag, but if they wear blue and take a picture and post it on social media, that is just as impactful as turning blue. And sharing the unified messaging that Erin will show in the toolkit is less stress on them. They don't have to do anything besides turn blue or wear blue. You've provided them all the information they have to do to tweet or to share on social media. And with that, I will stop sharing because I'm sure there are probably some questions.
So much, Allison, for all of that. Real quickly, before we get to Q&A, because we do have some, I just want to show you where the toolkit is on the Colon Cancer Coalition website. So let me see here. All right, so if you are on our website, it's just coloncancercoalition.org. We have added a button at the towards the bottom that's blue for CRC that has all the details you need. There is a button right at the top if you have secured a landmark to go blue to submit it there. But scrolling down, you'll see a place to download both a community toolkit and a healthcare toolkit. So if you do work for a healthcare facility, we do have a toolkit specifically for you as well. The form to fill out is very simple, just today's date and then some information so we can understand what is happening, who you are and what you are doing, so we know how to tag you on social media and how to include you in any communication efforts that we do. The community toolkit has, sorry, I was looking at this before we started. The community toolkit includes all of Allison's tips and tricks, links back to the Fight CRC's Blue Star State or Proclamation tutorial, as well as links to sample messages. We have put together a Google Drive that includes a sample email invitation for landmarks to go blue, a sample press release, the sample proclamation from Fight CRC, as well as some social media posts that Allison mentioned. And we'll continue to update this resource folder as March gets closer. For the press release, don't feel like just because you don't have the access to do a press conference that you shouldn't attempt to get landmarks to go blue. We do have a press release that is kind of a plug and play with details that you can send just as an email to local press to get the word out, whether you do a press conference or not. Any awareness is important, so don't feel like if a press conference, it does feel overwhelming or intimidating that you are unable to do the rest of the opportunities. As Allison mentioned, the tips and tricks, who to contact, are all included in this sample emails, and everything links around. We do also, the Colon Cancer Coalition has awareness materials for March distribution with a link to the webpage to request those as well. With that, we will do some Q&A. There are some questions, and if there are any others as we continue to chat here, please feel free to throw them in the chat box. The first question is for Aubrey or Beth. Can an organization request a proclamation more than once? For example, 2019, 2020, can you keep doing it?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, as you can see from Beth doing it multiple times, as well as some states allow organizations as a whole to do it, and you can do the same thing. You can usually request multiple times. I haven't seen it where you can't.
And I can also, I can also say that one of the times that I submitted my request to the state of Kansas, they said they had already received one. So they went with the verbiage of the official proclamation of the first one that they received, but they also sent that proclamation to me. And this is what the Kansas proclamation from last year looks like.
It looks beautiful.
Yeah, we found that as well, just to chime in, that when there are multiple people, say in Minnesota or another place, they will send copies to everyone that requests it, even if it's not, you didn't make the initial request, which I think is a really, really nice thing to do.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. So Connecticut is on pause for proclamations. Is it still okay to call the governor's office to see if that status will change?
I would say yes. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with getting in contact with your governor's office just to see if maybe someone might be willing to do it, or just to kind of start to build that relationship so that they have you on their mind.
Question regarding landmarks. So for landmarks going blue, what has been a general timeline for success? Allison, you want to start, and I can chime in too.
Sure. I mean, I know for Houston, we started now. So probably next week, we had our first sort of initial meeting to talk about it as a committee. And maybe you don't have a committee, maybe you're just one person, which is perfectly fine. That's how I started. But the earlier you ask, the better. And giving them dates is better. Like I always start with the bigger ask. Can you do it for the whole month? Rarely they can do it for the whole month, but Erin has nailed down dates. There's a week, I think it's March 5th through March 12th. And if they can't do that whole week, asking them to do March 9th, I think is the one day. So if we're all sort of uniform in that and we ask that, then maybe they'll say no to the month, maybe they'll say no to the week, but the one day is the easiest. I mean, usually I've gotten people to say yes for the week, but the earlier you can start, the better, especially with those bigger landmarks, because sometimes it takes a few attempts at phone calls to get them to turn blue.
And I would agree with that, but we have had success with, hey, I just saw that so-and-so building goes blue and our date is in a week, and we email them and then say, hey, we have, 25 other landmarks going blue on this date. We saw that you go change color. Would you consider going blue for CRC as well? And they say, absolutely. It's kind of to tie it to proclamations a little bit and citywide proclamations, we have reached out to a city and said, will you light a water tower for us to go blue? And they'll say, we only do that if there's a proclamation. So like, oh, well, we'll submit the proclamation and then will you go blue? So then we get 2 for 1, which is always really exciting and fun too.
Yeah, and like Erin just said, we start early, but literally sometimes the day before or a week before, I have someone that's like, hey, I want to do it, that might not have answered my emails in the beginning, or I might have noticed. So like I said, my eyes are always alert to blue lights, always. So I was driving around an area I'm not used to being in, and I noticed this construction company had blue lights. So I like stopped, I got off the freeway, I went to look, I got the name, I Googled the number, and I called them, and they're like, yeah, sure, we're blue anyway, so put us down on your list. So they might not know they want to turn blue for colon cancer awareness. They might not know blue is colon cancer awareness, but at the same time, they're willing, if they already have the lights especially, they're willing to turn blue. And again, at the same time, you're educating them about colon cancer awareness, which is great.
Question/comments. Live in a small town in Arkansas. Buildings don't turn blue, but the downtown businesses will decorate their windows. So that is what she's going for, which I think is a great idea. Again, it's blue for CRC. It's not blue lights for CRC. So if someone's willing to put up some balloons in their lobby or hang some blue streamers and talk about why that blue is important, having their staff wear blue on a day, I think all of that awareness is great. Encouraging then those businesses, if they're on social media, to Facebook it, tweet about it, put it on Instagram with the hashtag blue for CRC. I know our team will be looking for social media the entire month of March using that hashtag, and are happy to amplify and retweet and share all of the things that we see throughout the month using that hashtag. So even letting small businesses know that there are organizations, national organizations that will be looking for that can amplify it, they might think that's really fun too. Another couple more proclamation questions. Submitted a proclamation request for New York. There was no place to submit sample wording, but I submitted the sample letter from Fight CRC. Is there anything else that should be done in that case?
That some states are just different. So they do, I have looked at New York's page and they don't have that, just like you said. So I think you did everything right. And that is exactly what you should submit. And then if they ask you for a proclamation sample, we have that for you whenever that is needed, if it's needed. So good job. You did it.
Good job, Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
So I have one more question. So if there are anyone still out there with questions to ask, please submit those here shortly so we can get to you before we wrap up. But the question that is still out there is there a congressional proclamation in the works?
So usually when we're counting proclamations, we're counting governors or executives proclamations. So that would be the president. And we are submitting to Joe Biden, who will be our president as of January 20th. Usually we submit about a week before because they're actually pretty quick in a surprising fashion at the federal level to do proclamations. We have been successful the last couple of years in getting a proclamation from our president. So we expect that we'll get one this year as well. We aren't opposed to having congressional or state legislatures have done proclamations in the past. I know California usually does one. It's just technically not what we count, but we aren't technically pushing for them, but we welcome them. I mean, anything to raise more awareness, just like all of these Blue for CRC initiatives and allowing even water towers or front windows of businesses to light up, or just hang some streamers like Erin said. I think anything that raises awareness is wonderful.
All right. Well, I don't have any more questions. Ladies, we were aiming for 30 to 45 minutes. I think we did a great job. I appreciate your time, and thank you to everyone for watching. Aubrey, do you have any closing remarks?
No, I think I would just echo what you said, that thank you for everyone for coming, and thank you, Allison and Beth, for sharing your versions of how you were raising awareness. I appreciate the work that you do every year. So that's what I'll say.
And for people that came in late or missed part or want to share this with people, like I said, we did record this webinar. It will be added to the Colon Cancer Coalition's Blue for CRC page for you to watch again or share with other people. If you have any questions, my contact information is in that toolkit. I believe you have Aubrey's contact confirmation as well. And we are happy to answer any questions along the way. I would encourage people as they secure landmarks just to fill out that Google form so we can track them. We will be adding another kind of plug, if you're talking to small businesses as well, is that we will be creating a press release that will go out nationally the first part of March, talking about that 5th through the 9th, really, with that key date of the 5th through the 12th, with that key date of the 9th. And anyone that we have submitted through that Google Drive form before February 24th will be included in that. I can't guarantee anyone submitted after that time will be included, but definitely before February 24th will be included in some national press outreach as well. So that's another thing to keep in mind as you are reaching out to businesses. Again, any questions, feel free to reach out. I think, thanks everyone for being here, and we will see you all again soon.